Happy Friday, everybody, or Thursday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another Chamber Check-In episode from Idaho's only 5-star accredited chamber. Today, I have an opportunity to share a company that's an indoor agriculture company that's being built right as we speak. And I have founder with us, Scott Meikle. I'm going to bring him on stage right now.
Greetings, Paul.
Greetings, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm very good, and thank you, and thanks to the Boise Metro Chamber for allowing Greenscale to appear in the podcast today. It's a great opportunity for us to talk about Greenscale.
Scott, you and I met earlier this year, and I was out at the build site of the new facility, and we were standing in the dirt, right? And you're talking about this vision of what this company is, and how exciting to see where you're at now. And thanks again for investing with the chamber.
Again, it's we're excited to be a member of the Boise business community, and of course part of the Boise Metro Chamber as well. It's great place for us to do what we're trying to do.
Well, I love food and I love veggies, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But we started this series, Scott, March of 2020. And it was when COVID kind of started. And it was a way to check in with our members. One of the missions of the chamber is to engage with our members. And when you have an organization that gathers people for a living and you can't do that anymore, we had to find another unique way to do that. And so this is when this podcast spawned, was a way to connect and engage with our members, help share their stories, but really kind of check in how they were doing. So that's why we called it the Chamber Check-In.
Right.
I don't know if we've talked about that, but
Yep.
That's kind of the background of this. But so let's start with you, Scott. We'll talk about Greenscale, but tell us a little bit about your background and history of work that led you to become an entrepreneur.
Okay. Well, appreciate the question. I'm probably late in life to be becoming an entrepreneur, but in any case, just to give you a little bit of background, about 30 years experience in the semiconductor industry. My background's engineering, physics, so and I started my career actually at Micron in their research and development area. Was there for about a dozen years, and then ended up moving around the world with Micron, and ultimately ended up in a different company for a little while as well. But the disciplines that I spanned were, of course, engineering and research and development to begin with. After that, manufacturing, sort of some business issues, representing a publicly traded company for Micron in Taiwan. Ultimately a sales role as well in a different company. In any case, I guess what I'm trying to say is a long career in semiconductors that spanned a lot of different disciplines. That kind of has been sort of the wellspring or the source of not just the interest from a technical perspective, but from a business and execution perspective in terms of trying to start something up called Greenscale and execute what we're trying to execute as a company.
Okay, well, you haven't moved too far from Micron. And
no,
so
I went a long way and came back, actually. So
that's awesome. Okay, let's talk about Greenscale a little bit here. Also, I want to shout out Allison Newton for putting together a great program and helping connect us as well. For those that don't know, tell us the 30,000-foot view of what Greenscale is.
Greenscale, as you stated at the outset, is what's called an indoor agriculture company, which is a kind of a fancy way of saying we've got a set of greenhouses that we're building off in our facility just off of Federal Way. And we have those greenhouses that are designed and built with climate control and lighting and various other systems that allow us to grow leafy vegetables. That's the objective in a hydroponics facility. These are hydroponics greenhouses, which basically means the plants are growing in water. But anyway, we have this facility we're building that features these greenhouses, and it also features adjacent to the greenhouses what's called a aquaculture facility, which basically is raising fish. And in this case, we're raising tilapia fish. And ultimately, the concept of Greenscale is combining those two, I will call them discrete grow systems. So one designed to grow and culture fish up to maturity and actually sell those fish as a product to the local community, and the other one designed and built to raise leafy vegetables, again from seedlings through to a product. And ultimately, what Greenscale is a combination of those two. And our objective with that combined facility is to grow. First of all, from a let's say a technology perspective, is develop a grow system, okay, that is capable of delivering very nutritious, high quality, very, very low water footprint food produce for basically the local community. So that's the objective of Greenscale. It's really to develop a grow system. It's kind of a unique grow system. It's not new. The concept of combining aquaculture with hydroponics is not new to the world. What we're doing has some sort of new aspects to it. And ultimately, what we're trying to deploy is technology and manufacturing discipline into this facility so that we're able to produce, as I stated, highly nutritious, high quality, great, fresh food produce, including leafy vegetables, as well as fish for the local Boise community.
What is the relationship? Now, this is interesting, between the fish and the leafy vegetables. How does the symbiotic relationship work there?
Yeah, great question. Again, it's not new. One term for it is called aquaponics, so combining aquaculture with hydroponics. But fundamentally, we need to think of as Greenscale's objective is to create an environment, and we're really focused on the environment around the plants and leveraging the fish to help us create an environment, a very healthy, nutrient-rich environment around the plants that leads to very healthy plants and plants that are very, let's say, well positioned to take up nutrients in a way that creates ultimately more nutrient-rich leafy produce. And so, just to more directly answer your question, the fish are a source of nutrients for the plants.
Okay.
So water from the fish aquaculture side flows into the hydroponic side. But it's actually, that's a very high level and let's say 30,000 foot way of stating it. But there's a lot of complexity to manage that in a way that does ultimately lead to more healthy plants that are more nutritious and fresher and great for folks to eat as part of their diets. And it's really that management of that flow of nutrients that is the core to what Greenscale is trying to accomplish.
For the restaurateurs and the food industry locally, what will they be able to purchase from you, and what will the community enjoy? What's the leafy green? What's the fish? Tell us a little bit about that.
So it's actually a dynamic question because it will move. Our starting point for fish is a fish called tilapia, which folks are probably pretty familiar with. We selected tilapia because they're very hardy fish. They can be grown in an aquaculture facility relatively easily, and you end up with a pretty nice fish through the aquaculture process. From the vegetable leafy greens perspective, a host of different lettuce varieties. So, for example, a butterhead lettuce, maybe a leafy green lettuce, as well as some multicolored lettuces. Also, though, we will be focusing on varieties of kale and vegetable products that are a little bit more, let's say, I would say difficult to grow. Ultimately, we'd love to be good at something like spinach as well. But again, focused on those kinds of leafy vegetables that are, well attuned, number one, to grow inside a hydroponics environment, but also allow us to express our nutrition enhancing capability through the end product.
I love it. We love our growers here. And right now it is Idaho Preferred Month, right? And that's connecting retailers with growers. And I'm so excited that you have launched this business, because that's as fresh as you can get it, right? That is, you can't, there's the transportation from your facility to the nearest grocer or the nearest restaurant is going to be like that, which I think is really cool. How close are you in this journey? When will we see some of these products on the shelves and in your restaurants?
So we're well into construction. So for folks that don't know, we're just off of Federal Way, south of Gowan Road. So 7050 South Federal Way is our address. But anyway, you can see us off Federal Way very well. We've got a bunch of buildings up, and we are due to be complete through construction by, I would say, December of this year. And so we'll be hopefully producing product for the local community by the first quarter of 2026.
Wow, incredible.
So coming soon.
I mentioned a little bit about fresh food, but what does this really mean for Boise and the surrounding community?
Listen, we're excited to be part of we're farmers. We're excited to be part of the local agriculture community that's focused on, growing great food products. A lot of the food products that are grown local to Boise are served local to Boise, and a lot of them are served around the world. The size of our facility makes us very focused on the Treasure Valley, just in terms of the output that we have. So, I hope Boise can look forward to a couple things. One is hopefully, and again, it's our objective, just highly nutritious, very fresh, very good food and food products. So that's, of course, number one. We need to be a product company that's delivering things of value to the community that the community enjoys and benefits from. That's of course, from Q1 of next year. Longer term, we do consider ourselves a technology company. There are things that we need to develop and become good at to accomplish, to meet the objectives we set for ourselves. So, we're gonna be part of the tech community here in Boise, and we consider ourselves a tech community, a tech company. So that's another piece of hopefully that we've got to prove ourselves that Boise can boast about in years to come. And also, of course, we're going to employ people. We'll provide employment for, we've started to hire actually, and we've got a couple new hires recently, both fresh out of BSU. So, it wasn't necessarily our objective to get fresh out of BSU, but we're staying pretty local so far. But anyway, a local employment as well, Paul. That's an objective for us, or a benefit.
That means a lot. That means a lot. The economic development, right? When you pay people good wages and provide good benefits, that rise all tides. Absolutely, Scott.
Yes. Yeah.
You'd mentioned that this is not new. Indoor agriculture isn't new, and obviously aqua agriculture, for lack of a better term. Is there anything like that in Idaho? Are you kind of the incubator of this?
Well, listen, there are lots of clever people across Idaho that are doing a lot of smart things in indoor agriculture. So no, we're not the only ones working in this space. And I wouldn't say we're either the only ones working in the aquaponics space. There are other folks where we know of, Northern Idaho, I think up in Sandpoint, there's a facility, and that's not the only one, by the way. And there are probably a number of I'll just call them smaller scale facilities that are, maybe folks are doing almost as a hobby. What I would say probably makes us a bit unique is the scale of our effort, the scale of our investment, the scale of our objectives. So we really do want to carry this capability, which again I'll state is to create very nutritious produce with an extremely low water footprint. We want to carry it to a scale, and I'll say industrial scale. So we call our facility that we're building off of Federal Way a prototype or a pilot facility. Our intention is to scale it to a larger footprint in the future. So, what differentiates us, I think, is perhaps from what else might be going on in Idaho is really that sort of very much deep focus on carrying this to high volume manufacturing capability.
Gotcha. I have a question about Allison put in here, why is there a need for a company like Greenscale right now? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so another great question, Allison. Thank you. Listen, the agriculture, broadly stated, the modern agriculture that supplies the most of the food that we all consume is an absolute miracle in terms of the productivity it's delivered and the ability to feed a planet that's on its way to being 9 billion people. So it really is just stunning in terms of what has been capable through modern agriculture, but it's come at a cost, right? And there are a couple of costs that need to be highlighted. One is frankly water usage. 70 to 80% of the fresh water in the world, usage in the world is towards agriculture. So it's a huge, huge user of water, which we know in the West here, water is an issue, right? And the second thing is by virtue of the way agriculture has become, I'll call it, using a lot of industrial chemicals, et cetera, soil health has degraded. And honestly, if you go measure things like mineral content or vitamins, some critical antioxidant compounds, et cetera, that are in vegetables, they've dropped to, depending on what you measure, to 50% of what they were or more, compared to 50 or 75 years ago. So environmental impact and the nutrition of the end product have been two, let's say, elements of modern agriculture, which once again I'll say is a miracle, that have some problems. And Greenscale, you can think of us as kind of there's this term called regenerative agriculture out there, where people are really focused on creating a healthy environment for plants to grow. We kind of think of ourselves as part of that community, and we want to add to the knowledge that the world has on how to grow things using less water, but ultimately produce a more nutritious product. The world isn't going to go convert to aquaponics. We will produce products that meet a certain part of the market, and we're excited to do that. But we also want to learn, and we also want to contribute to the overall knowledge of what's going on in our world of agriculture, so that ultimately we can improve practices beyond just what we are doing.
I can imagine that growing in a controlled environment is also more consistent versus waiting for Mother Nature to rain, for the sun to come out. Right?
Yes. Yeah, and that allows us to do things that perhaps from a process development, a growing system development that you can't do out in the field, but it also allows us to learn things, I think will be valuable. And we look forward to, doing as much of that as we possibly can to help understand these very, very complex natural ecosystems and how they interact and how to improve them and optimize them in a way that, again, delivers the food at the nutrition levels we need, but does it in a way that maintains a healthy environment.
There's a couple other comments in here about, you're talking about fish, we're talking about leafy vegetables, but also functional powders and microgreen powders for food and supplement markets. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so again, driven by sort of the kind of unique way that we are raising our produce, zero pesticides, zero industrial chemicals, and a really very natural ecosystem in which the plants are growing. We have data that proves we will produce more nutritious food versus, let's say, the agriculture baseline. And I think producing nutraceutical powders is a great opportunity for us as one of the products that we plan to produce and supply to the market. Now, Paul selfishly stated, this farm that we're building has, it costs money to build, and we've got to have a business plan that allows us to, get a return on our investment and the investment from our shareholders. And so we need to kind of look at upscale products as well. But if our food is highly nutritious, I think we can produce a powder that consumers will find it interesting and exciting, to do as, put in their smoothies or what have you. And that's sort of, that's on our list. I think we could go beyond that. Again, driven by the way the facility is designed, the way it will grow things. I think our produce can be used in cosmetics. And that's also a market that we would be looking at longer term as part of our process and product development.
Incredible. I'm sure the sky's the limit, and there's always the dinner conversations with your team and family are about what else could this be, right? And executing with excellence on what you have just around the corner. Scott, I have greenscaleusa.com scrolling on the bottom of the screen. For those that are watching that want to learn more, the website's great. I love when people's websites are up before their buildings are up, so I can learn more before. With the last couple of minutes of our time today, is there anything else that you'd like to educate the listeners on while we have you?
No, just generally stated, all of us hear about the problems of, water scarcity. I would say recently, more perhaps than previously, we hear a lot about the health of the food that we, the nutrition level of the food we eat. Our objective is to contribute to the local community with products that have a low water footprint and are highly nutritious. We're not the only ones that are focused on trying to solve these problems. Field agriculture is as well. Let's educate ourselves on what these issues are that are sitting in front of agriculture and that feeds us all, and support the efforts by, again, appreciate the support anyone would provide as a customer of Greenscale, but also the agriculture community in general, so that we can work together to, make it all better. Make it all better.
I love it. Well, kudos to you and your team for the effort, the Herculean effort to get this facility up. I'm really excited to bring chamber members and do some tours of the facility to help raise awareness and to learn more. I'm sure you have that in the docket in the months to come.
Grand opening in December, Paul. You'll get an invitation.
Thanks for everything you and your team do. Really appreciate the investment in the chamber. It means a lot.
Thank you very much. And yeah, we're excited to be part of the Boise community.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You as well.